this is Rob Paris. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask Brandon to lead us in the pledge to our flag.
Please rise. Right out, hand over your heart, ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Director McLaren?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here.
Director Calandry?
Here.
Director Urasic?
Here.
Director Paris?
Here.
Pete Thompson?
Present.
Arden Wells?
Here.
Craig Parton?
Here.
Are there any other members on the phone? Angelica? Cameron?
Cameron Goodman is on Zoom.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now on item 4, adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Motion made by Brandon.
Second.
Second by Carolina, by a hair. Jerry, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to adopt the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried unanimously. We're on public comments for non-agenda items. Are there any public comments for non-agenda items? See anybody raising their hands online? Anybody here? Okay, no public comments. We're on consent agenda. Consent agenda items A, B, and C. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Before there is a motion, I'd like to discuss A.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to pull it or just discuss it right now.
We can discuss it, or we can have a motion and then discuss it, whatever we want to do. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Derek. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Carolina. Is there discussion, Derek?
Would be pleased. So if I don't have it up in front of me, but can we pull up the, is that it? Someone able to pull up the
Financial report. Yeah.
Really the aged receivables.
Okay.
And I just think it's good for everybody in the meeting room as well as online to go down to the bottom. And I know you guys have this agenda as an action of next, but it's a good reminder. I saw the numbers almost eclipsing 7 figures. I think 9,000 some odd dollars.
Okay.
I think it's page 6.
It's actually before.
I don't know.
It is page 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
The totals at the bottom.
So my point is, number one, the magnitude of size. I know that some of these are pending litigation, some of these don't really have even a number on, like, and so it's even higher. Secondly is the number of, what I would say bad actors. And, I think it's concerning, and I'll say again that we are addressing this in a little while, but, when I see this and I see the trend and it's the number of pages that are there, there's a lot of onesie twosies that are out there that, I'm not sure why or how, but it feels like there's a trend starting for as much as us to monitor and evaluate, but is to collect. And I would, encourage that the board and, the staff that we are getting to the point where I don't know if we're getting taken advantage of or we're just not, in a financial crisis or what the issue is. But it is concerning. I just wanted to bring it up and be on record.
And this is an agenda item coming up. So. Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Derek. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, All in favor of the motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, and C, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried unanimously. We're on item 7, advisory committee report. Dennis?
Good morning, Dennis Lamoureux with the advisory committee. I think the memo does a good job of speaking for itself. Unless there's any question.
So, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a hard time here, Dennis, because I've been around you enough and I know how thorough you are. I noticed, I think the first vote where it showed the 13 advisor committee members that are present, but it showed 11-0-0. Was that just a typo?
That is a typo.
Okay.
You caught it.
As I said, I'd give you a hard time because you're normally not missing anything. Thank you.
Anything else?
Good catch. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, we're on item 8, consideration possible action, selection of the Watermaster administrator. I'll turn that over to Craig.
Yes, this is a historic moment after the number of months that we've gone around on this issue of the MOU. Last meeting, you'll recall that there was agreement on the language as amended, but you asked that it go back to the advisory committee and that the actual language be placed before you. There's a red line version of the 2-3 words that were edited out, and that red line is found on page 33. And we believe it's now appropriate for you to act on it, pass the resolution, and have this journey completed on this issue.
And the action we'd be taking would be an item 3 resolution R2541.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, is there a motion approving resolution R2541, approving the First Amendment to MOU with Antelope Valley East Kern Water Agency?
So moved.
Motion made by Brandon,
Second.
second by Kathy. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R2541, approving the First Amendment to MOU with the Antelope Valley East Kern Water Agency, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. We're on item 9, consideration possible action to certify the 2025 delinquent assessment list. And that's going to be our administrator.
All right. Thank you, Chair Paris. So starting on page 44 is that delinquent assessment list. And as Director Jurasik pointed out, the total is close to $1 million. Just of note that most of that is within 2 parties. But we are going to be discussing how to handle some of those delinquencies moving forward, how to address them. So points well taken, and staff will be addressing that with council. What we have in front of us is part of our requirements by rules and regulations that we certify this delinquency list by October 1st. So staff has compiled it and it's ready for your certification, but we're happy to answer any questions about the list should you have.
I'll just ask the obvious one. There's a $455,506.02, I think, if I Rancho Sierra Properties LLC.
Right. That's being taken care of in terms of their obligation.
Right.
With the transaction that hopefully will be done at the end of this month.
And as we talked about, a lot of this is not a lot. There's a few of these in litigation. And just so the public knows, we've tried as a board to look at the ones that have the highest amount and then litigate those first to try to encourage the others to come along, because it's all of you paying your money out to litigate these unless we get the money returned in attorney fees. So there we go. So we need a.
Can I just add something real quick? Just
Yeah.
to note that there are 3 parties on this list that have payment plans with the Watermaster.
Could you let us know those?
Yeah, Wilsana Mutual Water Company, Paiute Mutual
Go-
Water
I'm sorry,
Company.
go a little bit. slow
Oh, sorry.
and Enunciate so we can look at
Okay,
it.
you got it.
Thank you, Angel.
Paiute Mutual Water Company. And it looks like they have a total about 16,000 due.
Great.
Joshua Acres Mutual Water Company. They have about $18,000 due. And Wilsana Garden Water Company, and they're at about $28,000.
Great, I'm glad you said that, because when I was looking on here and I saw water companies, I was like, we should be able to say, come on. You understand, you gotta pay, so
And
I'm glad to hear that.
I've got two myself that I want to ask you a question on. I see Charlie Taffy is listed here. Is the name Charlie Taffy?
Yeah, we had litigation with the Tapias years ago, that dealt with, the primary debt they had, but this residual amount, I'm not aware of what it's reflective of.
I was gonna say, because I went to Charlie's funeral. So
Yeah,
who you guys, is that with Charlie Taffy individual, or is that with one of the LLCs, or?
is him as a trustee of his trust. Yeah, it was a long time ago with how we dealt with that.
And hasn't Sierra Sun Tower LLC gone out of business? That was my understanding. They bankrupted and are no longer in existence.
The Watermaster has never had contact with Sierra Sun Tower.
Just so you guys know, I checked that out.
So just to helpful on that aging report, I know it doesn't, if there are payment plans set up, maybe you can just asterisk those, so when you look at it, I've forgotten that, so it's helpful. We won't bring it up. They bring up every other one, but won't bring up those.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, good discussion. So we need action to certify the delinquent assessment list. Is that correct, Mr. Administrator?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2025 delinquent assessment list to be certified?
So move.
Motion made by Carolina.
Second.
Second by Derek. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve the 2025 delinquent assessment list to be certified, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. We're now on item 10, consideration and possible action to approve the 2025-2026 United States Geological Survey Joint Funding Agreement, and that will be our administrator.
All right, thank you again, Chair Paris. So annually, we approve this USGS funding agreement for doing all the groundwater monitoring that goes back to our Watermaster engineer, as well as some water quality monitoring. So Holly, could you advance the slide? Just a few things of note. The total cost for this year's program is slightly less than last year's, a total of $205 less. That is due to pulling some wells that were no longer accessible. So the total list is a little shorter, but it takes some of the non-useful wells off of the list. The total cost per well went up about 5%. So had we had the full complete list we had last year, it would have been about 5% more than the previous year's contract. So staff has worked with Watermaster Engineer and USGS to come up with this program, these list of wells, and we recommend approving this with USGS so they can begin their work doing the groundwater monitoring. So our portion of that will be the $19,103.75. The remaining cost share will be with AV Irwin, who will pick up an identical amount, and AV State Water Contractors will carry half of the cost. But staff is happy to answer any questions you have. We're just looking for approval of this agreement with USGS today.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion? Is there a motion to approve resolution? Oops, we don't have a resolution, so we just need to approve the joint funding agreement.
Joint funding agreement.
Thank you.
So moved.
So on item 10, Kathy has made a motion to approve the 2025-2026 United States Geological Survey Joint Funding Agreement. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Brandon. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve the joint funding agreement, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion is carried unanimously. We're now on item 11. I understand that the city of Lancaster has asked to continue that motion being tabled, so no action is necessary. Craig, can you just bring us up to date? I know there's a lot of discussion in the advisory committee.
We've had continuing discussions with representatives of the city of Lancaster. And we provided this week sample indemnity agreement for their consideration. I don't know if they have further comments. Hopefully we'll be able to identify what any remaining issues are with them. The accounting of how the transfer will be pursued through its usage by the transferees is still a little murky. I think Arden can comment on what the issues are in terms of the accounting for that water. But we're, in terms of the Watermaster board, my main concern is you're protected if there's some backlash against the transfer to City of Lancaster from the Ag District not having the authority. It would be presumably a suit from the state entities that feel like they've not been properly handled by one of their joint entities taking a transfer of water or making a transfer of water to another outside of the state entity rubric. So there's confusing, complex accounting issues that we need to get to the bottom of. Hopefully we will. And then there's the issue of the indemnity, and that was last month, where the conversation was that we needed to provide that indemnity form to them to look over, which we did. So I was expecting conversation, possible at least decision about what might more be needed from City of Lancaster and 50th Ag to make this work. My understanding was we wanted to try to make it work and do whatever we can do as long as the board's protected on the indemnity, and that was our approach, was going to be our approach for today.
And there was I listened to the advisory committee, there was a list of things they went through, but can you make sure that you're talking to, I guess, the City of Lancaster attorney to make sure that, do they need an amended application? Do they need any other approvals, or is it your belief that with the indemnity agreement, we could go forward with this?
We'll reach out to the council of both of those organizations. The representatives that spoke to us last month, I think, are the appropriate ones to converse with about what did they plan on presenting today that was different from last month, and what's the status of the indemnity? Is the language at least be clear that we have language they can agree to by the next meeting? That would be my goal.
Okay, that's my personal concern, is that we are clear what we need from them and don't keep moving what they need.
Right.
So if we can make sure that'd be great.
I do. Yeah, comment. I did listen to the advisory committee, and I know there was a unanimous to table this, and there was a lot of concern above and beyond indemnity that came out of that. I believe there's been by at least one or two of the members, a significant memo sent to you, Craig,
Yeah,
that calls out. I won't try to, I've heard it, so I won't try to describe it, but I think, number one that I heard that's concerning to me, above and beyond indemnity, is the fact that they aren't current on reporting. Is that accurate?
on reporting their production.
Yes.
I'd leave that to Arden, but she might be.
Okay. I was looking to the right, left of you.
Yeah, Derek, so 50th Ag is current on reporting, but there are no others California state parties that are current on reporting.
But this right is not the 50th Ag. I mean, the production right or the right to that water is to the state, correct?
It's of the state, and it's divided up between 11 entities.
Okay, so that's a number one call out, on how do you manage those? To your point, how do you make sure the other 10 aren't frustrated about what that allocation is? Secondly, it's my understanding that the priority of the state and its entities is to find non-groundwater first, is to go out and find, surface water or, other types of water. And, I'm concerned that has that been done? Have we done that? Because that does have impact to the sustainability and the material injury of this basin. And then, I think there was conversations that continued on the fact that could you be double dipping, right? And the fact that it's, and it's a very gray area to me. I don't understand it. But before I can get comfortable even to taking action on this and, do the number of things that have been brought up, I'd like to have a lot of resolution to that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, and I would just echo the same thing. I mean, if you're doing a water transfer and 11 people own it, you need 11 signatures to make it clean and clear, the complexity of it. We definitely need to take some time to make sure we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's.
I appreciate it. I think we indicated to them, the city of Lancaster and 50th Ag last month, that this was a matter of first impression for us, and it's taken some time to analyze. But understand the advisory committee's got serious concerns. Got a lengthy memo from Mr. Powell on that. We'll certainly take into consideration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to item 12. That's going to be the Arden show. Arden, are you there? And start with item 8, please.
Hi, good morning. Yes. So item A is a new production application for temporary production of 93 acre feet used for construction water that will occur over 2 years. So this is Magnolia LP is located in the Central Antelope subarea, and they will need to intervene. They have an existing well, and they want to use the water for a construction project for a development. And they're in Palmdale Water District service area, but have a letter included in the application from Palmdale Water District that they can use this well for production. So we looked at the location of this well with the questions of, is this in an area of subsidence, and what have the water level trends been in this area? And so this is in the southern portion of the Central Antelope subarea, but subsidence has not been observed in this area. And additionally, the closest wells are Palmdale Water District's wells. We included their hydrographs in the material injury analysis, and we can see that water levels at these wells have increased quite a bit in the last few years, presumably due to recharge at the Little Rock Creek project. So taking into account that Magnolia LP will pay replacement water assessments, there hasn't been observed subsidence in this area, and water levels have increased in recent years. We determined that there was a low risk of material injury for this project. and it was unanimously recommended for approval by the advisory committee. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Everybody's gonna hear me way too much today. So this probably doesn't have to do with this one individual or this production, right? But, you know, as I'm reflecting about new production, replacement water, transfers, and a number of things, I know that we hear from the engineer a number of times that there's no material injury. But I go back, I think 3 months ago, where we had an update on the annual report and your modeling side of it. And I think there was a call out that there's a major overdraft potential out there. And yeah, and numerically. And so when I think at a fundamental position, if you want me to think about material injury, if we're in overdraft, or if there's a thought by the engineer that we are in overdraft, I'm going to question that number that was presented, but the thought of it, how we can think of any individual increase of production as not being material injury is a concern to me. So I pose that. I'd love to agendize it for further discussion at the board. I'm going to listen today. I feel strong about where my head's at. I'm that advocates that I hate to stop people from using water and having water availability, but our primary responsibility is to that. So I guess to that point, you know, Arden, as you look at each of these and you think about material injury, but then you have in your modeling reported that there is an overdraft, how do you correlate those and come to a rationalization that there is not material injury?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. Specifically for the new production applications, each of these parties are required to pay replacement water assessments, which means that they're paying to recharge an equal volume of water that they're pumping into the basin. And so looking at a safe yield perspective, you know, water going into the basin versus water coming out to it, it's remaining equal because of the replacement water that is added to the basin for the volume that's extracted for new production.
Thank you, Arden. Other questions?
So I just wanted to make sure I understand, Director Jurasik, if that answered your question. And maybe the broader question is, for us, Arden, is we hear no injury, and you know, we believe that, you know, through the assessment process. But when does the collective, the cumulative impacts perhaps become something that we should concern ourselves with?
Yeah,
So that's a question for you, Arden. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that is a good question. For the cumulative impacts, so the concern over potential overdraft would be if the total volume of carryover water and the total volume of water that has been stored and is available for recovery were extracted, that volume appears to be greater than the volume of total change in storage over the years, or the amount of water that has entered the basin since the beginning of the adjudication. And we would anticipate declining water levels because of that. It's hard to say how to mitigate that, given that we need more information understanding the basin, and this would potentially be a question for the future. I'm not sure that material injury analyses for new production applications quite fit into that scenario.
Thanks, Arden. And I think I appreciate you saying that. I think it's good for all of us to hear that and kind of remember that that's your application. And again, I don't think Director Yurosek even admitted this specific application maybe wasn't a concern, and you know, we have a 2-year withdrawal, but I think as a board, our understanding that there is that collective tally that the engineer is holding, right? So arguably, for you, we have to see what comes in, right? What the engineer is presented with over time associated with new production applications. And then I think collectively, depending which ones stop, which ones start, you know, which ones are continuous, we're gonna see the potential, right, for material injury depending on application by application increase. Is that fair to say over time?
Arden, I think Maureen has something to say.
If she
Yeah,
could just answer that question first, I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Arden. I was just gonna add to what you had to say.
So are you recommending that we're thinking about the cumulative impact of various decisions made in the basin within the context of this different in the tally? I just want to make sure I understand your question, right?
Right. So I think I would like to, I won't speak for everybody, but I think I would like to know that the engineer is keeping tally of the various productions that are out there, so that if ever we were to ask where we are at any given point in time, there would be, you know, what I heard you say is, you know, we can't predict what's coming forward, right? But so that at any given point in time, the engineer would be able to articulate that's the state of the basin, and at least what they had in front of us, what in front of them, what might we could foresee. In other words, you know, the fact that you're the engineer has this tally of, you know, what is in production, I think is important for us to know, so that if we had a question at any given time, we could come back and ask, you know, what is the state of the basin? To the best of your knowledge.
Yeah, that's correct, Director Hernandez. And at the end of each annual report is generally when we have a sense of not only what is the change in storage in the basin, but also where is production occurring, how much production is occurring, and what are the water level conditions? Are they increasing or decreasing in different areas?
Thank you so much.
I'm going to jump, just to underline what Arden said. The annual report is really the vehicle that we look at the cumulative impact of these applications. You know, Arden is tracking this year round, and she has the update in the engineer report. But really, during the annual report is when everything comes together, and we look at what's been pumped, what is the carryover total, and to really look at the water balance holistically. These individual applications, we're really focused on where and when they're pulling the water. Can it be replenished? They're paying into the RWAs, but can that water that we recharge get to that area of the basin? So it's really more of a local view, where the annual report is the holistic view. So there's two vehicles that we can look at, but just individual applications should be looked at individually. But I agree, tracking it as a whole is very important and is what we do year round.
So Marie, to that point, I guess is, you know, me coming full circle back to this issue. We do talk about it, and we do address it in the annual report. I think that happens to be sufficient. I think back to the question of whether we should discuss it further at different times, I'd look to the other directors and say, do you guys think we need to address it more than once a year, would be the question.
I don't know if that was addressed to me, but I think you addressed it to all of us. I'm just saying that if we have a Watermaster engineer that is saying in their modeling that there is an overdraft, and being a representative landowners that have production right, I get very concerned about approving new production, period, based upon that. So it's just, you know, debits and credits, we continue to issue credits and we're in the hole. And, replacement water, great. I understand that, but it is, I have a fiduciary responsibility. Look out for them. And if something comes back that says, hey, there's material change to what production rights mean, we've been issuing all this water, that doesn't jive with me. So I don't know how to correlate that. I'm putting it to this board and I'm making them aware of it. And I think this needs to be addressed sooner than later.
So,
And
go ahead.
thank you. I'd also like to add that the basin is not currently in overdraft. There's the potential for overdraft, but at this time, we've seen increasing water levels and overall in the basin. And so, except for a few select areas, which through these applications, we try to see and provide warning, and it would be a risk of material injury if there's increased production in an area with declining water levels. But right now, overall, the basin is not in overdraft.
Thanks, Arden. I think what I just heard, and just in my feeling of responsibility is that we do get to an opportunity where we discuss it and, in the annual report, but I think as a board, maybe we can think about hearing from you, and I'm just throwing this out there, maybe semi-annually, so that we can feel like when the annual report comes, there's quite a lot before us, right? And the discussion may not have time for the discussion at the time. So perhaps we could consider another opportunity within the year to hear from the engineer and maybe give us a report at that point in time.
Yeah, we can provide that. Each month we provide, an update of the total new production approved. But the values looking at the change in storage or overall water levels in the basin, those are really analyzed once a year in the annual report. However, we can revisit those values and discuss it within the larger context at another point in the year when the data is less crammed together as it is in the annual report.
And I do hear you, Arden, because I know you're trying to also get those reports, and it's seasonal, right? We also depend on the seasonal nature of the data we're getting. So maybe we don't even have to do it another time in the year, but I do feel that when we get the information, there is a lot going on and a lot for this board to consider in terms of things that need our approval. And so I think, that's even a good idea. Maybe to be able to spend more time on this discussion would be helpful.
Okay, any other discussion? I had one comment for you, Arden, and I think it comes from Brandon has brought this issue up many times. It seems that the overdraft issues are in one major subbasin, the central subbasin. If that's the case, maybe we need to focus on that and start focusing on what we can do to reduce pumping in that area in some way, or spread it out in some ways. And I don't know if that's an accurate statement, what I just made. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, I need to look back at the values from our model runs to confirm if the larger amount of overdraft is occurring in the central sub area. But there are certainly areas in the central Antelope sub area where we do see declining water levels. Specifically for this application, what's interesting about it is it's in the central Antelope sub area, but it's on that southeast boundary adjacent to the southeast Antelope sub area. And we see interconnection between the two sub areas in the area where this application is. So the recharge occurring at Little Rock Creek is in the Southeast Antelope sub-area, but the Palmdale Water District wells in the Central Antelope sub-area near where this well in question is show pretty clear increases in water levels in response to the recharge at Little Rock Creek. So even though this well is in the Central Antelope sub-area, it is showing water levels that look very similar to those observed in the Southeast sub-area and is clearly receiving effects of the recharge occurring in the Southeast Antelope sub-area, even though it's in the Central Antelope sub-area. So I agree that we do need to pay special attention to areas where water levels are declining. And often we see those trends within a specific sub-area. However, there's a little bit more nuance than just looking at the sub-areas as a whole. For each of these applications, we pay attention to the exact area where it's occurring. And if there are effects, such as recharge or drawdown that are sort of coming over from other sub-areas.
Okay, thank you. Board's pleasure. Do we want more information?
Rob, can I say something?
Yeah, who is this?
This is Galen Kyle. How are you?
Oh, Galen, I'm doing well. Of course you can speak. Go ahead, Galen.
The Watermaster is not purchasing replacement water because these people are not reporting and they're not paying. Hold on just a second. Could you hold, please? They're not being able to purchase water because these people are not reporting. That needs to be satisfied. We need to put liens on these people's property to bring them into compliance.
And I think that's what we're trying to do, Galen. And if you can get us information who you believe is not reporting and who's not in compliance, I think our intent is to go after the ones that are the worst offenders and then work our way down as funding permits, and that's what we tried to do. So I think any information you can provide to us would be helpful.
You don't need it from me. You already have the list of people that aren't reporting that you have granted the rights to pump water and they're not reporting. We already have the list. You need to bundle them up and put a lien on their property because they're not taking you seriously. And when we don't get money from them, we can't purchase replacement water.
And you're speaking directly about our delinquent list that we just discussed?
Yes, I think there's almost $1 million worth of people dollars that are out there that haven't been paid.
Okay.
It's
No, that's
900
helpful.
something thousand.
Very good. Thank you, Galen. Any other comments?
Hello?
Hello? He's on the, can you take Galen off?
I know, but
I know what heat prices are.
We do need to remember that small pumper class, unless it's new production, don't pay replacement water assessment. And just throwing it out there for discussion, we may want to look at what other basins, how they have determined overdraft and whether they include carryover or not. Numerical overdraft is not the traditional definition of overdraft. It's pumping in excess of safe yield. And that I think would need to be clear that we understand. And we're talking about overdraft. We're not talking about 500,000 acre feet of carryover that might be produced at some point in the future. At least I don't think that's the traditional definition of overdraft.
Good comment, Craig.
We have some additional comments.
Okay.
John, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
John, could you just say your full name so everybody knows? I know who you are, but I need everyone to know. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just, and, has Palmdale Water District thought about using, some of that sanitation water, that reclaimed water for dust control instead of, using our natural water for our groundwater over that area? Have they thought about using, and why don't we maximize the use on some of this dust control for development? Why don't we maximize the use of our sanitation water?
And Dennis is right here, and we have a little bit of time, so I'll let him answer that question.
Interested.
Dennis Lamro from Palmdale Water District this time.
Thank you.
Recycled water is available for construction purposes. The outlets that we're using for it have changed, so it's farther away than it used to be from this site. I think it's 3.5 miles now. So that makes it pretty tough for the developer, and there's no requirement that we can enforce to make them use recycled water. And this water will be replaced likely from water that we've already stored in the basement.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Any other questions?
Stan Powell.
Stan, go ahead, and then sir, why don't you come up to the front? Go ahead, Stan.
Thank you, Chair Paris. Stan Powell, representing City of Los Angeles. I think this has been a very good discussion, though perhaps not in the right spot. I'm not sure there was a good spot in today's agenda to address this. I'm happy to hear it. I don't want to contribute anything substantive now because I think these issues first became clear dealing with storage agreements for carryover. And the board has a subcommittee looking at that issue now that's meeting in private. And I think this discussion would be better, and I would feel better able to contribute once that committee finishes their work and we have a chance to see it. So I just wanted to share that, but good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. And sir, if you could just state your name and.
My name's Kenneth Gunn. I've been sending emails regarding a water dispute with the Dar commercial well across the county. I'm not sure if anyone's seen my information. We've been going back and forth, and this kind of relates to what you're saying. I believe, Mr. Planning, it's not only how much water also you have, but also whether or not they start pumping extreme amounts of water next to somebody else's well, whether or not that destroys the well. And that is, my emails I've been fighting this for almost a year now. And this has to do with Avantis and building a Aratina solar plant in Boron. So to your engineer, if you just have the total amount of water, but then you're allowing a major draw near another well, that major draw has nothing to do with the overall amount of water. But if you're drawing it down at such a rate, the person like me who's next to them, the water goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up. And then it destroys our wells, people that are close. But there's no way to prove it. How am I going to prove it? I don't have a camera in there. You can't watch the silt come in. And now Avantis is saying that they're willing to send a person out to examine my well. What is that going to do? Are they going to just go down and say, oh, there's a crack in the casing that could have caused the collapse of my well? So I challenge the engineer, stating that it's all about some level of water. It's not only about some level of water. I can hear the generator every day as they're filling these giant tanker loads full of water from 6 a.m. and I watch them from my house as they do it. Every day, I'm worried whether or not my water is going to end. And so I hope the engineer takes this into account when you're talking about large projects like this. And I am on the outskirts of this area that you're analyzing. And that your recent report states that you have no monitoring even close to me. And so there's no way you know what damage this is doing, and I have no way to fight this. And so I hope that this is taken into account when you're approving these projects.
Got good comments. We have seen your memo that you provided. So thank you for your comments. Okay, very good discussion, but I agree with Stan. I think we need to look at what's in front of us right now, and we've gotten the report. So we're on item A, R 2547. Is that right? Yeah. So is there a motion to approve resolution R 2547?
So moved.
Motion made by Kathy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brandon. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2547, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We're now on resolution R 2548. Maria Perez, 1.5 acre feet. And go ahead, Arden.
Thank you. So this application is for Maria Perez, and her property is in the northwest section of the Central Antelope sub-area. And she's requesting 1.5 acre feet per year for a single family home with some irrigation and landscaping. And because of the small amount and the obligation to pay replacement water assessments, we found the risk of material injury to be negligible for this application, and it was unanimously recommended for approval by the advisory committee. Any questions?
Any questions? Comments? Is there a motion to approve resolution R 2548? Motion made by Brandon, second by
I second.
Carolina. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2548 for Maria Perez, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We're now on resolution R 2549 for Jose Martinez, 0.3 acre feet. Go ahead, Arden.
Thank you. This application is for 0.3 acre feet per year in the Central Antelope sub-area, also in the northwestern area, for a single family home with no irrigation or landscaping. And we found the potential for material injury to be negligible, and the advisory committee unanimously recommended it for approval. Any questions?
Any questions? Hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve resolution R 2549?
So moved.
Motion made by Kathy, second by Brandon. Any discussion?
I'd like some discussion, probably not about this, but I don't know where else to put it, but it has about replacement water and your production. So I know the replacement water, I brought up earlier, Galen brought up, we have people that haven't paid, and we're having to fund it, but the actual paper trail of that replacement water. So we're just a conduit that is then handled by either ABAC or the City of Palmdale Water District or someone that is actually, physically has that water and is replacing. I'm asking staff or the engineer, maybe I've seen it and I've just forgotten about it. Is there something that actually shows us the accounting that says, okay, hey, that water has been removed from storage, it is no longer available, it has been accounted for? Because I think our fiduciary responsibility is making sure that transaction is complete.
Yes, so in Appendix C of the annual reports, for most of the replacement water, it's a deduction from the total amount of water available for use of stored water by the different projects. And so we do keep track each year of the amount of stored water that is deducted to cover the replacement water obligations of various parties who have paid replacement water assessments.
Great, thank you. I knew you probably had it somewhere. So, Peter,
Yeah, I'll just add that every year the Watermaster Board gets a replacement water plan that's developed by AVEC, Palm Water District, Little Rock Creek Irrigation District, showing where the water is going to move to, where it's going to be deducted from, and that plan has to go through the Watermaster engineer first in order for her blessing on it before it moves to the board. So every year that plan is approved, and you can fact check the deductions in that appendix that Arden just talked about.
can you remind me when that comes out?
I think that is, it's around June, July. Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'll just add that when we determine those deductions, one exercise we do is look at where production occurred that incurred these replacement water obligations, and also the larger scope of water level trends in the basin to determine where these deductions occur to kind of optimize covering for the overdraft or the over pumping or pumping that incurred the replacement water obligation.
Thank you, Arden. Any other discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution R 2549?
So moved.
Second. Motion made and second to approve resolution R 2549 for Jose Martinez. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve R 2549, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. We're on 13, consideration possible act on new point of extraction application, and Arden, that's for you.
Thank you. So this application is for Christian Valenzuela, who is a known small pumper, and he's requesting to drill a new well because he's been sharing a well with his neighbors, and his estimated water use is less than 1 acre-foot per year. And we determined that the risk of material injury is negligible, and the advisory committee unanimously recommended this for approval. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution R 2550?
So moved.
Motion made by Carolina, second by Brandon. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2550, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. And we're on item 14, consideration possible action on replacement well application R 2551. And I believe that's going to be Angel. Go ahead, Angel.
Thank you, Rob. We have one replacement well application on this month's agenda. It starts on page 159 of the agenda packet. The applicant is Keith Metter, and he is a known small pumper to the judgment. And he is requesting to replace his well because his existing well produces little to no water. He does plan to cap the old well once the new well is in operation. Staff and the advisory committee recommend approval of this application, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Brandon.
What happened with the old well? Did it just stop pumping water? Did he have a partial cave in? Did he state any reasons as to what happened?
Yeah, so he did state that his existing well is at 100 feet. The existing water level at this time is at 105 feet. And he plans to drill the new well at 200 feet.
Okay.
But if he's planning to keep this, the existing well for backup.
Yes, for emergency backup if the water levels come back.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, is there a motion to approve resolution R 2551?
So moved.
Motion made by Brandon.
Second.
Derek, I think you won. Motion second by Derek. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2551, say aye. 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 All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We're on consideration of possible action on small pumper qualifying documentation, and that's going to be Angel.
Yep, thank you, Rob. We have one small pumper qualifying documentation on this month's agenda. The application starts on page 169 of the agenda packet. This small pumper did submit all documentation that shows they do qualify as a small pumper. The property is located in the Juniper Hills area, and staff and advisory committee recommend approval of this application. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve of resolution R 2552?
So moved.
Motion made by Brandon,
Second.
second by Carolina. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2552, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. We're on item 16, consideration possible action on new monitoring well application. And that's gonna be Angel, so go ahead,
Yep.
Angel.
Rob, these applications are similar, almost the same, just two separate wells. Both are located at the Palmdale Recycling and Disposal Facility in Palmdale. They plan to drill 2 new monitoring wells to monitor the VOCs and the TOCs there at that site. Staff and the advisory committee recommend approval of both applications. Happy to answer any questions.
We get reports on that, right? On their monitoring wells up there?
Arden, do you get reports on monitoring wells?
We don't get any additional information, unless we specifically request it for the monitoring wells. For monitoring projects associated with, water board controlled, or remediation projects, most of the information is available online, on GeoTracker, but we don't actively monitor this information.
Just to be aware, about 10 years ago when they did their expansion up there, there was documented contaminants that had gotten into the groundwater up there. So just something to be cautious of in that area.
Any recommendation?
If we can get the information, it's always nice to have information. If not, nothing we can do.
Arden, do we know who gets that information, or is that information we as a board can specifically ask for?
I can check on GeoTracker, the website that tracks remediation projects, and see what the status is of this project.
So Arden, I think really what we could get that information, if it's for a regulatory purpose. So I'm not sure, back to your point, I don't know if it'd be on GeoTracker, but it might be regulatory reporting that Waste Management is doing. So I think it would be public record, but so maybe we could just check with the regulator.
Okay, yeah, we can request an update on regulatory activities for this project.
And I guess with the application, we have all the information also who to ask for. So is it board's pleasure? Is that something we would like Arden to go ahead and do? And
I just think it's groundwater and a potential contaminant issue. It's good to know what's going on if we can.
yeah, I agree with that. Peter and Angel, can you put that on our to-do list and then work with what's the most economical way to get that for us? Well, they might not be Arden doing that. Okay, so item 16, let's do a first resolution R 25 53 for the monitoring well. Is there a motion to approve resolution R 2553?
I move.
Motion made by Carolina, second by Brandon. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2553, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. We're on resolution R 2554. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Resolution R 2554 made by Brandon, second by Kathy. Getting very efficient, you guys. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. We're now on the administrator's report. Peter and Angel.
All right, thank you, Chair Bears. So we'll move on to administrative activities, but we're gonna circle back to item B that was considering alternate Watermaster date. So next slide, please. All right, so we had a fairly light September, and we got the unpaid delinquent assessment list approved, and the USGS contract is complete. October is going to be busy, so we'll just flagging that there's a sub-area management advisory committee meeting that's typically set for this month. We're also going to come back with the presentation on replacement water rates for 2026. We're going to present on the proposed 2026 administrative assessment rates, the proposed 2026 administrative budget. We are hopeful that we'll have a presentation on the investment options at that same October meeting. And you will be considering a special meeting date for a December meeting because we skipped November. So just wanted to flag that. And then moving over to November, December, no meeting in November, special meeting in December. And then at the December meeting, we'll be seeking approval for all the things that we previewed in the October meeting, the replacement water rates, the administrative assessments, and the administrative budget. So that's what's upcoming. And or just say, Craig had an excellent idea. We do have a pretty big gap between our Watermaster meeting in October and our one in December. We do have a lot of activity that administrative staff has to complete in October. So considering an alternate date of extending it to October 29th would provide staff a little more time to prep all those items and also decrease the gap that we'll have between that and the December meeting. So just, it's not a necessity, but we wanted to throw that out for your consideration before we adjourn and decide on that meeting date. So happy to answer any questions you have on any of the items we brought up.
When we look at that date right now. The recommendation was October 29th.
Correct. Or we could maintain the October 22nd date.
Okay.
So my preference would be to maintain the date. I think the impact, there's other impacts associated with, well, maybe I should ask, does staff think that certain reports would get out? I guess what I'm asking is that changes things for the advisory committee and when documents are provided and all of those things. So I think my concern would be the ripple effect to those other committees.
And are we starting to think about, we want a special date in December?
Yes, that doesn't have to be decided until the October meeting.
Okay. It doesn't.
I can't make the 29th.
Yeah, it sounds like 29th.
22nd, all right.
So we'll stay with 22nd and we'll work on special meeting dates on the 22nd. Why don't you circulate some recommended dates, like 2 or 3, so all of us could start looking at our calendars and then respond, so we're not looking at it on that date.
I'll reply.
That'd be something.
Absolutely.
Maybe give us 2 or 3 options and then let us all weigh in who can do what.
Sounds good.
And I think that will be more efficient for us. Okay, great. Good report, Peter. Arden, I think it's your turn for your Watermaster's engineering report. And
Thank you.
Maureen,
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can y'all see the full screen?
yes, it's very small.
No.
Okay, let me.
We see two things.
Okay.
Can you make it bigger?
Okay, how about now?
Okay, now we see one screen, the summary of new production qualified small pumpers.
Okay,
And-
excellent.
And if you, any way to make that a little bigger, if not, we will get through it.
You also
Yeah,
have
we
it in
can
your
reference-
agenda.
Oh, it's in our agenda packet too. There.
Oh, okay.
On page
293.
Okay, yes, so this is in the agenda packet, and this is the summary that we share each month. I want to note that for approved new production, we show it in two columns. We have the total active and the total revoked. And so the total revoked were the parties who, through the years, have not been responding, have not been paying replacement water assessment, have not been reporting how much they've been reporting. For some cases, it could be that they never drilled a well, but this new production right was revoked because they were not reporting or paying replacement water assessments. So I'll note that in our discussion before about parties who weren't paying, the total amount of new production that had been approved, and then the parties were not responsive, is 102 acre feet per year. The total active column in the middle are the parties who have been reporting and have been responsive. So that's 841.7 acre feet per year of new production, and these parties have been responsive. Are there any questions about sort of the difference between active and revoked?
Any questions? Nope.
Okay, great. So hearing none, I'll move on to the next item. And so we were asked to look into the setting of the wells and if the Watermaster has jurisdiction over production of the well in San Bernardino County that Mr. Gunn brought forward in his public comment last month. And so the question of jurisdiction is really a legal question for council. But generally the Watermaster is responsible for wells that are within the adjudicated area. And this is a map that we included in our memo. I filled in the basin just to be clear for this figure being shown in the slides, just to show where the adjudicated area is.
What
And
peak
so-
is that?
I think it's 299 or 298.
Both the maps I have don't show that.
I just colored in the adjudicated area for this one on the screen, but it should be the same map. And I made the font a little bigger and added the scale.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see it. So the question we really had is this well within the adjudicated area? If not, how far away is it? And is it likely that the production is impacting wells that are within Antelope Valley adjudicated area? So the Dar well, which is the well in San Bernardino County near Mr. Gunn's property, is over 3 miles away from the boundary of Antelope Valley adjudicated basin. Under normal hydrogeologic conditions, even if a well is pumping a large volume, it is unlikely to impact groundwater conditions from over 3 miles away. The 40AA well, which was approved by the Watermaster board, is located in the Rogers Lake sub-area. It's shown on the Aratina Solar property within the Antelope Valley adjudicated area. We reviewed the pumping records, and their maximum production has been about 6 acre-feet in a month, which is within the range that they said that they would be pumping, and within the range that the distance drawdown tests that they included in their reports showed. We also looked at hydrographs in the area. And I'll note that, while it would be perfect to have a monitoring well in between Mr. Dar's well and the boundary of Antelope Valley, or one right on the boundary to know what are the impacts, what are the groundwater level trends on the boundary of the basin to see if there are any impacts. We don't have available monitoring data in this area. That being said, when we look at the hydrographs in other parts of the Rogers Lake area and right outside the basin boundary, we see that water levels are relatively stable. This leads us to believe that in the absence of monitoring well data, we can assume that the aquifer conditions are pretty typical and we wouldn't see impacts of drawdown from a well that's over 3 miles away. So that sums up our memo about this topic. And I'm happy to answer any questions or to see if council has any additional input on the question of jurisdiction.
Do you know how many acres the entire solar project is?
Right now, off the top of my head, I don't. That is something that we can calculate with the parcels that were provided for the project footprint, though.
Okay. Other comments? Have we provided Mr. Gunn with the memo? And if not, can we, Angel?
Yes.
Since he's here today, Mr. Gunn will provide you with all the information that we've collected, and we appreciate you coming today and bringing it to our attention, and hopefully this at least answers our part of the basin problem. Okay. Anything else? Arden?
That's all from us.
Okay, good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Craig?
We've already talked about the long-term storage agreement of carryover water. We worked on that, on the indemnity, and the 5 matters that we'll discuss in closed session, several of which have had some activity in the past month. So that's it.
Mr. Gunn? Yeah, we're gonna. Oh, you got the paperwork already? Oh, super, great. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Greg.
No, that's all I have.
Okay, great. And we're ready for a closed session, I
Yeah.
would imagine.
What about that? Oh. Never mind. We discussed the correspondence from Cox and Castle. 18C.
I think that's the report.
All
Yeah.
covered. Okay, just making sure.
Board members request for any future agenda items? Derek, did you want to bring up what you had discussed earlier?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to table that. It was a longer discussion. I guess there's 2 things. I think it needs to be more than just an annual report. And I'd look for staff and the engineer to come back with a recommendation of, how to take our feedback and probably more reporting or updates is better. At least from this board member, you've heard my concern, and I did vote yes on all these votes, but I'm getting to the point where I may change that, and I don't want to hold up this this board with that if we can address it.
Okay. Recommendations?
Rob, so when the sub-area advisory committee was formed, that was the intention of that committee for Arden, or for Todd Groundwater to bring updates on water levels or whatever maybe what she updates on, or maybe at the board's request or the public's request. We do have a sub-area management committee in October, and I believe the other one's in April. I think that's a good time. We kind of got away from that, but I think it would be good if we got back to that point and use those meetings for what they are. Yeah.
Good.
So I'm hearing that potentially we hear more from that meeting, maybe at the December meeting. So it's at the October, it's an advisory committee meeting, but rather than having sub-area committees, the Watermaster board decided to create the sub-area advisory committee meetings twice a year. So they are a part of the advisory committee. But at those meetings, the Watermaster engineer is present. And at that time, she should or can give updates on water levels, or more in depth and more focused on the basin and the sub areas. Maybe my question would we be encouraged to attend that, or would there be a report provided to us in December?
So I think it would be good, and I think Arden may have done it once in the past, where she actually has that sub-area advisory committee, attends that, gives her reports to the public, the advisory committees, or anybody that wants to attend. And then maybe at that month meeting, so October, she could give a similar report, but maybe not so in depth.
I see.
Would that be okay?
I think that'd be good.
Okay. And that would be twice a year. So as long as we just plan to make sure that happens, I think it would be a good time to do it.
Good recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, anything else about future agenda items? Hearing none, is there a motion for us to go into closed session? Motion made by Derek, second by Kathy. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion, go into closed session, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. It is now 11:55. Let's start closed session at 11:30.
11:25.
11:25, excuse me, thank you. That's why I have an attorney to set my time. It is now 11:25. Let's start closed session at 11:30.
Thank you.
Not good.
Recording stopped.